Hello, we're live. We didn't have enough.
Are live, and that almost sounded professional. It was like the BBC or something.
It did feel like a rocket ship. I was like, oh, are we gonna explode? I don't know. It's a good feeling though. It's like this is the final countdown. Yeah. Well, I mean, should we introduce each other for each other's things for a swap casting? I guess because I'm going to introduce Cambell. I'll do it again. This is Cambell right here. Cambell. He's the handsome devil from Down Undercast, as we call it.
There we go, the Cambell.
Right.
And then this is the Xirtus down here. We have the Xirtus.
That's true.
And
I'm Andreas. What's up?
Now, Cambell, you're supposed to introduce this guy.
Oh my God, my finger. I'm trying to, but my finger disappears. Look, I can't point at you. It's like going into the nothingness. Over there is BurnEye, or otherwise known as BurnEye, Third Eye, Science Guy without the bow tie, and he wants to be a moon dancer or something now as well. Our resident alchemist.
Indeed.
Yeah. So, when you say moon dancer, do you mean like at the festival, or is he hiding now? This is
it's definitely a festival thing. I was raving the other night, and the event was called Moonlight Warriors, and I forgot to change my name back.
God, those places with those laser projectors. That's the thing. That's how they get you. The lasers. You're like, well, that's pretty cool. I don't know. Yeah. So one of the things you're melting into Autodidactic. Yeah. One of the things I've wanted to do for a long time is have a Down Undercast, which is kind of, to me, the idea of Tartaria, but also talking to the podcasters who do the Tartaria thing and the research and into the technology and Tictoc and everything like that. And, Autodidactic, kind of the prime example of that kind of research. So I figured, hey, that would be super sweet. Plus, then you're always trying to do these kinds of things with BurnEye. So here's BurnEye. That's kind of how that happened.
Well, thank you.
That's how
bringing it all together.
We are.
Right?
Yeah, dude.
Yes. And welcome to everyone in chat. Thank you for being here, and thank you for that kind donation. Who was that? That was Stefan Carlin. Thank you very much. We appreciate your support.
Steph, heavy hitters in the house.
Yeah, so we've got three. Actually, we've got probably 4 channels. I think BurnEye's hogging with 2 channels again. So we've got 100 people so far across 4 channels. So welcome on whatever channel you are, and whatever channel you aren't on. Your mission for today is to go to the other 2 channels and subscribe.
Exactly.
That is what multicasting
so by the end of the day, about. Collectively, we should all be about at 100,000, I think. If
that's the whole plan. We're all going to subscribe each other,
Yep.
And if not up to 100,000, at least please go subscribe to my Rumble channel that I'm posting in the links or the live chat right now, and get me up to 100 subscribers so I can actually live stream to Rumble.
That would be useful.
Yeah, we're going to start taking over Rumble as well. Get on these alt platforms, as the cool kids call them.
I think I've got 100 on Rumble. If I don't, also subscribe to me. But I think I'm at 100, so we could subscribe for my channel at some point, BurnEye.
Yeah,
but let's do it.
Also,
send me it too on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
I don't think I've subscribed. Actually,
we'll do the batch.
I've got 3 channels. I can get 3 subs, man.
Oh wow!
Yeah. My latest one actually. You have to subscribe back to my
social media king.
Hey man, I've got like 3,000 followers on TikTok, man. I mean, I can twerk for the best of them, I'm telling you.
I had 2,000 until they deleted my account on me.
They're gonna bring back Vine, and Vine. It's gonna be a war between Vine and TikTok, and it's gonna be really funny because the Vine people versus the TikTok people. I can just already see it now. It'll be like Nintendo and Sega.
Are they really gonna bring it back?
Oh yeah, Twitter's gonna bring it back.
Vine used to be huge.
Yeah, I feel like they destroyed it on purpose. They dismantled it for TikTok. Yeah, that's the whole thing. They just shut it down. They're like, yeah, we don't need this. Yeah. It was gonna make
any ideas of?
Oh, good.
ICQ, is it ever going to come back? Because I had so many friends on ICQ in high school.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it ever went anywhere. Insane Clown Posse. I think that's the Juggalo thing. It's the idea of being dressed up as
ICQ. Oh, the MSN Messenger from way back.
IRC, ICQ. Oh yeah.
It had like the flower emoji on it.
So here's what it is now though. Matrix protocol. If you look, I think it's matrix.org or matrix.com. I think it's matrix.org. They have a free protocol that allows you to chat with any system. So the Tartaria Nova Discord, we had lost it at one point, but we had it backed up, mostly like 80% of it backed up. Yeah. We have it bridged with the Matrix thing. So anytime you post there, it copies it with an automated system to the other system. So Matrix is definitely the new future. If you want to save your data, if you're going to have, so we have like a bunch of library of books and maps and things for Tartaria, you know, to keep them safe. You want them on permaweb that's somewhere backed up forever.
Man, you're going to just show me how to do that, or I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
Do it for me, because
I mean, that's the whole thing. Like, we want to make it. We want to make it easier. Yeah.
Oh,
what's this you got here?
That must be right.
Sorry, I'm being rude. This is the Medicine Hat Badlands Guardians. Have I ever showed you this yet, Xirtus?
You've not shown me this, but I've seen it a few times. I just haven't really analyzed it much. I like this cat. This cat's serious.
That's good, man.
Cambell loves his kitties. So this guy and this guy, they are right close to where I live in Calgary, Alberta. They're in Medicine Hat, Alberta. And apparently they plot out to do these geoglyphs where they map out to all these other places. So that's my mission, is to go down to this place in springtime.
I wonder if that bottom one points to any of the forts in the Caribbean. It looked like it was going down that way. This one here.
Oh, it goes to those exact tips.
BurnEye, after this, can you pull?
Cuba there, is it?
Can you pull up the Western Sea interior?
Oh, Cambell will be the one that's good at Google.
Could you pull up? Could you pull up Western?
Or do you want to just open a browser, Xirtus, and I'll just let you share it all?
Here, I'll pull it up just for a second, just because in that context of that picture you just showed.
Bring up Google if we need it.
So the Western Interior Seaway is the name for what they called North America during, I think they call it the Cretaceous period. And so what's interesting about periods is we use carbon dating all the time. This is a fun one. Hold on really quickly. Precision carbon dating East Polynesia. I just saw this one the other day. This document shows that there was no human habitation in Hawaii until the 14th century through the way they use carbon dating. And the reason that all of a sudden in the last like few years, and it was kind of not allowed to be published for the last few, like 10, is they realized that carbon dating can be completely off based on volcanoes, right? Because volcanoes go off and they'll mess with carbon dating. Not all the time, but you have the Oklo volcano, which is the nuclear volcano. There's a number of examples of these volcanoes that are breaking down plutonium. And so the radiation is changing the carbon. And so the Western Sea interior, we know that the Cretaceous period existed, but it probably wasn't like millions of years ago. Now we're saying it was, hey, maybe 1,000 years ago to maybe like 8,000 years ago. That there was a period when things started to melt down, explaining the Carolinas, we have the Carolina Bays, right? The Carolina Bays, which are these weird, these crazy rings outside. Yeah.
What?
The Carolina Bays are the result of. So they're either, dinosaur meteorites from space, or they're ice that was jettisoned out of a giant volcano and melted.
That's crazy. I've never seen these before.
Bays.
Yeah, Carolina Bays. Well, because they're filled with water a lot of the time. Okay, so then the other thing is, if you look at like
a lake.
Well, and so then they have rules about what you define as a lake. A lot of them are dunes as well. But if you look across places in Disney Lake, if you look across Minnesota and land of 10,000 lakes, a lot of them are just from giant holes that have been blasted from something. Carolina Bays are the biggest example. Yeah. But so then, if you look at this map, if you look at this map, what I think it is that there were ice pieces on top of volcanoes. Volcanoes pressurized. There's huge steam explosions, huge pieces of ice. We're talking huge pieces of ice shot on top of these volcanoes and out of this super volcano maybe, and then landed. And also, as this happened, it allowed for water to pour out from wherever this was, probably in the north somewhere up here in Canada, because there's a number of volcanoes also to the west.
So you're looking at the flood more as a crapload of ice melting and sort of flowing off, rather than, I guess, what's the other option? I mean, because they normally talk about sort of inundation from the ocean and that, but obviously if it's ice, it's coming from the land going out, isn't it?
There could be a number of factors when something like happens. You also have feedback loop systems. So this is what's funny when people talk about global warming or climate change, right? So the Aral Sea, this is the thing that everyone should be able to agree on. The Aral Sea sucks. I mean, it used to be awesome, right? This is the Aral Sea in 1989. This is today because they diverted just a little bit of water up here.
And the entire thing.
It stopped raining in that area, and then so literally over a few decades, it completely erased itself. And you can look at California, Mulholland, and this idea of the inland sea. This area here, and this is people kept saying, "Oh, California was an island." Maybe into the 15th, 16th century, they were trying to find proof of the island. They got stuck in the Sea of Cortez, right? Cortez got stuck. But at some point, this was more connected.
Yeah. We looked at an atlas yesterday from 70, I think, and it had a California as an island.
Yeah, 1670 or 1660. Yeah, it wasn't.
So these are pictures of miners. These are pictures of miners in California told that they were going to have to get a slave. They were going to have to pay somebody to use a wheelbarrow to move their gold around for them. That was the kind of story they told people to go to California. They're like, oh yeah, the goddess land, this island, this magical place. It was the only place that anyone ever found that was a magical place, because they kept talking about Atlantis and things. California was like Atlantis. They're like, oh yeah, right, California. And they're like, oh yeah, it's there and there's gold.
But then they just
See, I think that all the gold they found over there was...
But they would blow up a mountain and then they would wash it away. And
yeah, but there was no gold in the mountain. I think all the gold came off of the old Antiquitech that they melted down when the robber barons came and stripped off the cathedral, stripped off the pyramids. They took all the precious metals off.
What do you think about Telos? What do you think about the super underground? So there's this whole thing about in California that there's
Grand Canyon Pyramid Complex is a prime example of what probably connects to this in LA.
They talk about in Shasta that there are the remnants of the super civilization that stayed underground when there was the last reset. And so they live underground in this super highly advanced civilization coming out occasionally. I mean, who's to say what's true or false? But people have had these stories for centuries in California.
Yeah.
The natives have stories about this.
Wasn't there they said they found like a room in, it was in like middle Europe somewhere, I don't know, Romania or something, in a mountain. And they reckon they went in there and they found all this holographic computer stuff and like a big tub of like almost or white powder or something. Could have been coke,
right?
But I mean, so there's lots of those stories. They're everywhere.
They used to call, like the Hell, in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, they talk about the Hellmouth, right? But the Hellmouth is a real thing. In Spanish, talked about California and Los Angeles having a Hellmouth. But the thing is, the word for the Hellmouth is Boca de Tartarus. Right, Boca de Tartarus, like Hades or something. So it's interesting, this idea that these were these underground tunnels that they said, hey, and the Oracle of Delphi and everybody, they're all supposed to be connected to something that's not coming from above. It's from, maybe it's
below. It's all below. And like, there's the stories of
that's
even
interesting
the lizard tunnels of LA. And
are you ready to go down to the lizard tunnels of LA? The worst
White
is Utah.
Sands,
Utah freaks me out.
Underground, like the Phil Schneider stories. There's so many everywhere.
Dude, so the Salt Lake City Mall is like 7 stories tall, and 2 stories of them are underground, but there's probably more. And you know, the food court is in this like subterranean layer, and you just have to constantly feel like, did you see a lizard walk by? Like, is there just open by a door? Yeah, it just feels
like the Colorado airport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Washington, D.C.
And this Tartaris is, you know, oh shit, yeah, well, it's a capital. Tartarus, right? You know, this is, and because we used to get this a lot. It's like Tartaria, man, Tartarus, that's Tartarus, and that's hell. But it's interesting,
right.
You know, if you tie that with an advanced civilization going underground and then becoming known as Tartarus by the people on the top because they either wanted to hide it or they didn't like them or whatever, it kind of makes sense.
I mean, well, so the funny thing is, if you're looking for an example like that, you already have like the equal example of hell, right? Because hell used to be like Hellenism, Helena, light, the sun. So now all of a sudden it's bad, right? It's burning. It's bad. You don't want to get burned by the sun. It's hell. You don't want to be in hell. So I mean, we already know that they did that once.
They inverted all.
Yeah, exactly. And so the inversion is so weird. So Spanish people used to write in Arabic backwards, and I've seen Argentinian postcards. So David Ewing Jr. has been on my show, and we've been looking for examples and found a bunch of writing in Arabic backwards. And you can see early Spanish and early or mid-aged Arabic starting to flip back and forth. And there was this huge thing with the Catholic Church burning at the stake all these people that were doing the things backwards, right? You know, like imagine being, you know, these people that are so backwards, all those backwards people that are from Tartary, you know, like it's backwards because it was right to left. And that not just that it was read backwards, it's that the symbols are backwards, kind of insinuating that you're looking at something that was designed to be printed, right? Because you usually have the backwards letters on a printing press. So they're reading the direct thing the other direction.
Because there's also that thing about, you know, with spells where they love to write their incantations backwards.
The whole language.
So, I mean, and does that mean everything we read is backwards?
Yeah.
They tell us that was backwards, but it was the right way around.
It's all
everything is backwards.
You've seen, so if you watch some of these YouTube videos of people showing how people used to speak in England century by century, and it's amazing the crossover into I wanted to say Frankenstein. That's just really Freudian, but Shakespeare, because they Frankensteined English is what happened. All of a sudden, and it's easier to just watch Beowulf and then to watch Shakespeare, because in Beowulf, this is English. It's Cornish. It's this weird like Danish sounding thing with like and all of a sudden English becomes this. Well, it has millions of new roots. It has a new structure system, and they force people to listen to it in theaters, and they burn everyone's books. So now you have to use their books in their language, and then you have these fake accents. So in England, they create, if you don't speak with a school accent, they can tell. And if you speak with that school accent, you better be from that school. So it's all this weird Masonic apprenticeship, and they can tell it beyond your handshake from just your bird call, which is crazy.
Wow. Well, I've always wondered why there was so many accents in, you know, like somewhere like England. Where in Australia, well, I mean, granted, not as many people, but, you know, we all pretty much talk the same, you know, mate.
Fundamentally, it's because English is the English people never spoke English until, you know, the 16th, 17th century at least. So, and you can tell this because when you go on this in the metros, you can't even read the signs because they're in old English language. Like Greenwich is Greenwich and things like that. You're just supposed to understand that these people were completely culturally assimilated and forced to speak this completely new language by a guy who literally doesn't exist, right? Shakespeare was an illiterate actor who was being played by, you know, the Earl Ed de Vere, right? Well, Sir Francis Bacon and Cecil Rhodes and James John D. But the thing is, the person who was the poet was De Vere. Edward De Vere was, and so you can see in the winter play is the De Vere, right? Yeah, yeah. It's all about him. The whole thing. Hamlet's about De Vere, you know. Nice. Credit to Cambell for preempting the ridicule cast upon those that do their own research by simply naming his channel Autodidactic, illegal in the U.S.
Not allowed to be self-educated. America.
I just try to say heterodox. Heterodox means to have two opposing beliefs at the same time. As long as you're a walking contradiction, they can't touch you. I think that's okay.
Right? Yeah.
No.
As long as you're an oxymoron.
If you're walking, is that a contradiction?
Yeah, sitting and walking. Well, it was a contradiction.
You could be a skipping contradiction.
So there we go. Yeah. Already qualified.
Or walking with a random jump every now and again. That's always good. But yeah, don't let them know where you are, right? It's like, don't ever turn up on time because the overseers will know where you are, man.
Exactly.
One of the things that'd be cool also is we could look at some Australian Tartary stuff. If you have any pictures that you could want to show, I'd love to see some stuff.
Ooh, does Cambell have pictures?
I know it's asking a lot.
I used to have a lot.
Cambell, that sounds like a challenge. You've been challenged.
I've got this folder open of town. Just a little town, the town that I'm going to be in. Woohoo!
Oh, okay.
In 2 days. So maybe we can have a look at that, eh?
We'll take a little trip around Brisbane. Or Rockhampton.
It's way up on the east coast, northeast coast. I think it's 70,000 people. Built in what's the story? It was 1860s, I think, was pretty much when they moved in, and by the 1880s it was full of these buildings. This is just a small one, obviously. This is, I don't know, the technical college. That's boring. Let's get rid of that.
Of course, the bank.
The Capricornia. This is the Australian British, the Australian Broadcasting Corporation. That's our free TV.
Oh my God!
But of course, we've got all these stuff everywhere.
Well, you think it's
this is a little town. A little town, which you need a
Brahmin house. These names are almost as weird as the Tartarian buildings themselves.
Brahmin, yeah, right. Okay, it's a bit Indian.
And it says 1888. So 3/8 are lucky. Yeah.
Right, it's all of, and it's hidden in plain sight. The fact that everything is a facade. That's the facade date of it. The building date.
Almost see where you can see where they've ripped the plaque off.
Yeah, it's a new sign, obviously, but they're telling you 1888. So 888.
Brahmin. If you look into like the native Australians, they look very much like the Northern Indians, and there's also ties between the languages, which is interesting, and that's called Brahmin. This is just, what's this called? Auctioneers, big house or big building. We'll get something to do. So there's tons of this stuff. I have got some good old ones.
Gosh, and look what they do.
The thing about this and all of
on top of stuff. Sorry.
Yeah, they just resurface everything.
They make it look like it's a strip mall. It's like, oh my God.
They do. And this place floods. Like all of pretty much, northern Queensland has been flooding regularly since the first flood in this town was recorded in the 1850s. And then, of course, in the 1880s, what did they do? They went and built all these buildings with windows on the ground level.
So, for context, when are British going to Australia? Do you know? Like, how big is it by the 1850s?
In Australia, so Australia's 1788 first fleet turned up.
Okay.
I think it was 3 ships, 70% convicts. story goes that they forgot their tools and they almost all starved to death. And then the second fleet turned up and miraculously they suddenly all had food, even though they had twice the people and no food, right? So I don't know. And then they talk a bit about wars with the natives. And then by the 1850s, not much, we've got sort of Hobart, Melbourne, Sydney, and a few towns. So, it's probably like 100,000 people. Actually, 1848. As soon as we hit 1849, gold.
Yeah.
Gold
rush.
And then suddenly everything explodes, right?
Funny, there's a gold rush 1849 in California. Sorry. We have a gold rush both California and Australia, same year.
Yeah, same year. Yeah, exactly right.
Sorry,
okay, so this is
Andreas, just so you know, there's
1880s.
a 5-second delay to Cambell in Australia, so it's
I'm recognizing
we end up talking over each other is because of the delay back and forth.
Yes, sorry. I'm out here in the future, standing upside down.
Wow, it's beautiful.
So this is, right. East Rockhampton again. Like, so back in, this is, horse and cart 1880s, the population, it's 70,000 now. So, it might have been with the gold rush, maybe 30 or 40,000. But I mean, look at all these, it's just wall to wall.
Tictoc on top. Look at all of the little dome, things up there. Like, what are those?
Nice.
These things, yeah. But you find this, like, literally, it's all throughout Australia. We've got these tiny little towns, and they just got, look at this. Wall
look
to
at
wall,
all the radios,
massive old
the antennas.
Here.
Man.
We've got the bell still in the bell tower.
Fancy.
And it's the same all over Australia, and of course,
Is that an explosion going? What's supposed to be an explosion behind the building?
It's on fire. I think it was just. I think they just explain it as a fire. It was probably a cow kicked over a candle or something like that. Oh, here you go. So first flood 1859, right? But they have all these mud flooded buildings everywhere.
That's a castle of a bridge.
After they've destroyed a bunch of the wildlife and the infrastructure, tree roots, and there's mud coming. Yeah, of course. It takes one generation.
How did they build this in the 1880s, man? Look, this has got pylons going into the water. What were they doing?
I like how it looks like a castle.
Them and driving them down somehow. Doesn't it?
Right.
It's like,
just casting it up.
Maybe that's the hint. It was cast by the gods, right? Cast by El. So here's the floods, right? The whole place floods out, and like I said, they build these. Apparently, right after they know it floods, they go and build all these buildings that get flooded. Like, hello, what's the point there? You can see in this one, vents, right? So as soon as it floods, water's going to pour in. Like, how does that make any sense at all? But of course, old world building, and they just, they defacade them and just paint them and, rent them out as cheap office space. It's a bit sad. This one fared a bit better. The harbour board, flying cross. Oh.
Yeah, it's brutal when you go and you see, like, in the process of remodeling these buildings, because they tear out the inside, leave the front, and then they paint and facade the front with stucco. It's just like, wow, that's a cool picture.
It's shocking. So, and literally you can see what these people, horse and cart, little wooden boats, but look at this building in the background, this big stone thing, which, of course is flooded. This guy doesn't realize there's a flood going on. He's trying to get right.
Canals, and then they forgot, and then they decided, oh, we'll just put a road there instead of the canal that used to be, and then wonder why there's water.
Well,
You've
we
seen
have discussed
Huaycos in
that.
Peru?
Is the what?
The Huaycos in Peru.
The
let
what?
me just for 2 seconds,
Huayco?
I'll show these. So in Peru, because they did that, they destroyed their rainforest. If you remember from your Captain Planet,
Okay.
they now have these things called Huaycos, which is the Quechua native word for like a bully or a robber or gangster kind of a thing. Somebody who comes and robs you after you've been beaten down or something like that. So this is the Huayco is the Quechua word for mud flood. And so what happens is it carries away all of the earth underneath with it, and and also the buildings with it, and the road with it, and tunnels and everything else like that. So people will get stuck in these towns drinking nothing but Coca-Cola for like, a month because they're just stuck in a mud flood. So, I mean, and this has been going on at least since they've destroyed all of the natural, when you tear out a few hundred acres of trees, then the next thing is it just pours mud on the tree. Right.
I mean, and that's interesting because we were talking about, with all the floodplains in Queensland and Northern New South Wales, like if they filled in all the canals, or if they, deforested it so naturally the mud flowed and filled in the canals, then when the water naturally comes, it has to sit on top of on the ground, right? There's nowhere for it to go.
Right.
So that could be exactly what's happening there, because we've got these buildings that are clearly not built by these people in the 80s, but they're too low. They're getting flooded, which doesn't make sense when when they're perfect in every way.
Yeah, and when they build basements in flood zones, the basement part's funny. That's a good thing I do. I don't know, but I mean, what I like is the middle
floors they find underneath too.
What I like is Middle Australia, so like the Northern Territory, like the idea that there was, they say that Aborigines burnt it down like 10,000 years ago. This is like the mainstream science thing, in order to defeat these lizards that were eating their young, right? You heard the story, but the likelihood that there's the huge kind of sustainable society that existed in the Northern Territory that's been mud flooded in some of the major plain zones, because there's huge zones that just nobody goes into, and they're like, okay, well, let's just turn this into a giant freaking farm or like a preserve or something like that, and bring in all these crazy species, and like we'll just have them be a trample on top of it. I think that's where we're gonna surprisingly find the craziest stuff, but it's gonna be not what people are looking for, because they're saying, oh man, like, I mean, because you're gonna have Wi-Fi, so you're not gonna find wires if there's Wi-Fi, something like that. That's gonna ruin it for everybody.
Australia's so big, man. The desert is so massive. Like there could be anything out there.
Just like the
Sahara. And we've got maps with Australia and the Inland Ocean.
But it would have caused it could have definitely caused a lot of.
There's so many pyramids in Australia too, like Pyramid Mountain you lived next to before, Campbell. Guaranteed they're all over there.
It explains a lot if Australia had more temporal, what would you call it, humid temporal rainforest, like submicroclimates in the mid Northern Territory, and that eventually, the reason it dissipated so much was, because you can look at Polynesia and you can look at Papua New Guinea and you can see what the climate's like there and what happens in parts of the islands where they completely deforest. So it seems more, this is the thing, they're telling you and telling us all the time about climate change and global engineering and everything like that, but they're not really explaining how this is the answer to why these things happened that we hear about in school, but they tell them it was millions of years ago, but that this all happened so freaking recently. It's just insane. Like that's
I love that you brought that up too yesterday during the APEC to like all of like the academic world, and you're like right at the end trying to talk to them about this carbon dating issue. Xirtus, so
right, I forgot. I was like, I don't know. Sorry, I get excited about that because carbon dating is such a touchy subject with so many people. If you're really into science, it's your god. And if you start to question things, it's one of the first things that you start to become skeptical of. So it's something that people should understand because there really are interesting things about data informatics sciences. But, then you can be careful what someone's trying to sell you on. It's kind of like when someone tells you that you should buy this computer because it's a better computer. Like, you should understand why. Like, what are they actually saying? And, it's probably not what they're telling you.
Yeah. Carbon dating is great. I mean, yeah, it's definitely not a 100% sort of science, is it? Let's just say that.
Well, it's like,
but I mean, you take the dating out, everything falls apart.
Right. You can use it though. There are things. This is the thing. But a lot of the time, if you use it right, it completely disproves everything they're trying to tell you about it, which is the funnest part. But also in corroboration with like 6 other things. Isn't carbon dating very unreliable? Again, there's a ground. So like if you're counting like for instance chemical oxygenation of frozen ice tubes. And you're also using carbon dating and you're using tree rings and you've got 6 other systems that are going on, like you can sometimes rely to a very low percentage. But if you know about the geography and the geology of what's going on there, then that also gives you a range to look for and you can use it to be like, okay, we're like 20%, 8%, 6%, 90% likely that this is what happened. And there's been some really useful things that have been called from that. For instance, finding out that this is one of the ways we found out that Oklo was a nuclear reactor and we're able to find the uranium that were in the mines because they could measure how much of it had been depleted. And so just by measuring the breakdown of a molecule, you could say, okay, at least these many explosions happen. But the thing is, it's not reliable for a certain amount of years. It's reliable for a certain amount of explosions, which could translate to nuclear or volcanic reactions. So if you had this many reactions happen, it might have been just like 13 happen in a row. And then there's nothing for a million years or something like that. Who's to say exactly what that means?
Yeah. And who was Casey and JoJo, the Tartarian Truther girls? They're finally has taken a few months off. They said they'll be back in 2023. So they go.
Very good to hear.
Nice.
They did good work.
Just asked about them. They did, yeah. They I think they're going to be at our Sydney live event in, when's that, April or something? Something like that.
Nice.
And then Bernie's coming down for one, apparently. Got to
by next year, that's the goal.
Have they opened it? You could go to Australia without the...
I sure hope so. I have my card.
Yeah, no, Australia's very good.
All right, that's good.
Cool. As far as I know.
I am so glad.
I hope so, because I've booked a trip to India next year. So I really hope I can get out and get back in again.
Got the... Come on, focus the thing.
Must not be
vaccinated.
Must not be.
Sweet.
I am part of the control group. Must not be vaccinated.
Is that real? Like, what do you buy that? What is that?
It's vaxcontrolgroup.org.
I hope that they believe that when you show it to them.
Oh my God, it's not even letting me zoom in on it properly. They don't want you to know that there is. Come on.
Pretty funny. That's pretty good.
vaxcontrolgroup.org, and you can get your own valid ID that you are in the control group and should not be vaccinated.
Have you used it?
Yeah, but the restrictions all got taken down in Alberta a long time ago.
Yeah. Have you used it inappropriately? Have you just walked into random buildings and gone?
Used it to open a motel room door.
Kept walking.
Yeah, right.
Being pulled up by the cop, you know, sorry, can't be vaccinated.
Oh, I think the thing is that nobody wanted
because they've come out.
Yeah, they're over it. YouTube has comedies about it. I think the thing is nobody cared for so long. They were just trying so hard to get through their day. And you had the people on one side whose job was to make media, so they're like was that the newsies, X-ray, read all about it. The worst disease in history. How bad is it? Worse than yesterday. Not as bad as tomorrow. This is like literally like what they did the whole time. And then there was like the other people were like, yeah, but like I have to work, right? Like, and then do I have to not work? Like, no, you still have to work. You have to work. Double bag it. Just put 2 masks on and you can go to work. It's fine. Don't worry. So it's just these 2 conflicting narratives the entire time.
Double bag it.
Like, that's what it was the whole time. And then it felt super racist because it was like the people that could afford to stay home and not work. Oh, yeah, you're scared? Good for you. Yeah. How do you think it feels to be washing dishes for you right now? How do you feel, someone's coming right now and driving to your house from Uber Eats who's getting paid $7 an hour or something like that? Because, yeah, he has to support 3 baby mamas and he's in Baltimore. Tell me about how bad it is for you, the pandemic. Yeah, I don't know. Not to be a man of the people. I'm just saying. It wasn't like it was very real. They knew the whole time that they had to force people to work. So eventually that was going to be the mode. Like we had to get back to that.
Yeah. Thank God.
And now it's all going to fall apart. Reality. Everyone's starting to sue their employers now. Like, and once a big one goes through, man, it's just going to like be a house of cards, I reckon.
Well, that's why they forced everybody to sign the NDAs or like the non-suing license when they took off the shots. It's like
Elon's gonna cut all the frills. That's the thing, and some people are really for it. So I was talking to Adam. Everybody loves this idea. I don't really love it because if I worked for a company, I would love to have the frills. But since I don't, I guess that's fair. But there's a reason why they used to have them. Man. Well, they used to have like organic food because you got these obese programmers and you're trying to keep them healthy because they're working for you. I mean, it's Orwellian managerial theory. If you feed your horses out of a trough, it's good for you, But they don't want to lose that. But at the same time, getting back to this idea of forcing people to work these hours in this cold kind of calculated, that's the way things used to work. So I think and this is the thing I think everyone's like, oh yeah, Elon Musk is so great. He's definitely a minor billionaire. Like he's a billionaire from like emerald mines, whose family used to own emerald mines, and I think still do.
And gold mines,
But they lost some of those mines. Say again? He's an African American who's doing really well for himself. Yeah, it's true.
He's got good hair plugs.
Elon is an African American doing really well for himself. Quote of the century.
and hasn't he got about 4 baby mamas trailing behind as well?
Yeah, he's about 9 kids.
And his father has a new baby mama the same age as Elon's baby mama.
But that's not fair because that really is Elon's stepsister, to be fair, right? Because it was the girl, his father adopted this kid, and then when she grew up, he got with her. Now that she's above age.
No.
And then had a baby with her the same age as Elon's new baby.
Yeah.
It's an African American story for Jerry Springer.
It seemed more like life.
A family like that, I'd want to be driving in space too, man. God.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think it makes sense. Yeah. But so I'm not saying that means Elon's the worst person. Just because his family's crazy doesn't mean he necessarily is. But I just mean, dude cutting the frills. And the only reason we like it is because people hate Twitter, managers from the last 10 years. And that's fair because they suck. But what that's going to do is set a precedent for corporations lacking corporate social responsibility. And corporate social responsibility was the greatest idea. It means corporations can't be psychopaths. It also
wink, nod, YouTube.
Yeah, here's the deal with CSR. Bic lighters are made in Portugal and France at like proper wages by people that can pay for their families. Bic pencils and Bic razors and all that stuff. It's like got the best CSR, corporate social responsibility. Shell, not so much. And if you start to imagine what will happen if we don't force corporations to have CSR, is they'll go back to just being like entirely psychopathic, just trying to make as much money as possible and hurting other people and corporations that get in their way for fun. But I guess the other problem is we can't be sure the reason this happened is because we had too much CSR designed from the wrong. We had false synthetic corporate secular ethic. And that doesn't work for corporate social responsibility. We need to really figure out how to force corporations to do all the things that we've been trying to make taxpayers do, right? So if they're taking care of the roads, adopt a highway, all these things like that, running hospitals, the church used to run, just figure it out. That's what we have to do. We have to actually get corporations to be philanthropic in the correct way.
Well, do you think that we need corporations? Do you think that that's the way to go? Or is it more like we need to sort of create, I don't know, like conglomerates or guilds or whatever you want to call them, as some sort of new kind of.
I think a corporation and a guild,
right? like we're all kind of part of the business, you know.
I think corporations can be like guilds. This is the thing. People structure corporations however they want, and the way that people structure them, I think people are very lazy. For instance, when you make a company, people usually just take like a form off Google, and so they're already just following what it says, and it'll say something like, the most important thing is that you focus on the financial gains of the shareholders. Well, you could literally not make that the goal of your corporation, right? And you could also be like the shareholders and the board members are the people who, you could change that to be like everyone's a board member who participates for this many hours. Yeah, like you could do anything you want. But the problem is, sometimes that's a bad idea to have too many people on the board. So it does make sense to have limited boards that work with other people. Have a corporation for yourself or somebody else. A legal person is what that is, right? So I think, corporations.
And that's how we're supposed to use the legal person, isn't it, to do trade and commerce? And we're not supposed to, pretend we are the legal person or believe it.
Right. That's the best way. Yeah. And then you can see like this is practice. The Amish are doing this, and then they're not collecting social services. So they're able to gain on their social security because it's a legal person that they use in order to trade with the commercial society. And that's fair. At that point, if you're interacting with society, and it's kind of like having a user account or something like that. But that's why, this whole thing with FTX is so messed up. Have you heard about the whole thing with crypto? You've seen the meme? The Ukraine money.
I didn't see what was going on.
So basically Biden.
I just don't get who is this dude? Who's the dude, and how has he come out of nowhere? He looks like he's come out of his mum's basement. Apparently he's worth tens of billions of dollars. What?
Yeah, it's Bankman-Fried. Bankman-Fried, which is a funny name.
What was worth that, Campbell? He's now worth $0 according to Forbes.
Kalen brought it up yesterday. How interesting his name is. Bankman-Fried. Yeah, Sam Bankman-Fried.
Sam Bankman-Fried.
Bankman-Fried. Oh my God.
Let me read a thing really quickly.
They kind of told you, right?
Let me see. Following, I found this guy who.
Where did his money come from originally, or did he supposedly make it from the market and then lose it really quick, or is it? Do we know? Like, how do you get worth tens of billions when you're like?
I read this before, but I'm going to read it again because I think it's probably worth reading. Hold on, let me pull the page up here. This is from Will Manitas, and I'm not saying this is true, YouTube, but it's an interesting thing that this guy suggests is a thing. So just quoting here, if I were an intelligence agency and I were concerned my advisories were using crypto to launder funds, how would I stop that? First, I'd find a central casting idea of a tech founder, a MIT dropout, finance, cargo shorts, long hair, sleeps on a beanbag kind of guy. Then I'd stick him offshore, claim he discovered an arbitrage of Forex money. The details don't really matter, but it should require inaudible OTC transactions and credibly add up to a couple $billion. All that matters is it's mildly believable and it's not on the chain. Then I'd have him use those funds to build a very large crypto exchange. The goal here is to subsidize the thing until you see enough trading volume to see the state of the market at any moment. Only then can you start understanding how these, quote, illegal war funds are moving. Great. Okay. Now you have legibility into all crypto transactions for a handful of currencies, and you're starting to understand where cash flows are going. What's next? Every time a project fails, let's take a bit of that arbitrary money and use it to bail out their products. On the grand scale of things, this is a tiny cost compared to what you're making in suitcases of cash washing up outside of your office, but it gives you information rights into any currency you can own on your exchange. Okay, now you're essentially have rebuilt the IRS level audibility into decentralized currencies in just a few years. Your great power adversaries are significantly weakened. Total cost, a few billion, and a sports stadium sponsorship, right? So that was the first
point right there. That is actually huge.
So that's the first thing, is that it made it possible for them to control and audit what's going on in crypto right now. They have complete understanding of crypto because they have so much of a say in crypto that they can see where the money is flowing, and they can even control the ledger and rewrite it now if they want to. So the other thing is all of the paperwork's step 1, fund Ukraine. Step 2, Ukraine fund FTX. Step 3, FTX funds Democrats. Step 4, life hack crash market. So what they did was they put money into the Ukraine, billions of dollars, right? How did they buy stuff? With the crypto market. Who'd they use? The FTX. What did FTX do? Crash the market at a certain point, put that money into the Democratic Party. He's one of the main and highest donators to the PAC, the Dem PAC.
Yeah.
Only Soros was behind Sam bankrupt fraud.
God, that was the punchline, but you said it so well, I don't even mind. And then, thanks to Biden and back. And it's just this perfect schema. The best part is step 4, which is the life hack to crash the market. Because now that Bitcoin's crashed, they've done this thing where they can stop other people from it's kind of like burning the bridge behind you so no one else can run the same scheme. It's very Ocean's 11. I love it.
Yeah. And then the yellow blue country is ultimately the laundry for it all then. So they can then turn it into
hypothetically,
weapons
I mean,
and sell
you
on the
do.
black market.
I mean,
for it.
God, right? Who knows? Or maybe dragons. We don't know. What do we know? Who we know? Could be dragons.
I like
well, one of the dragons was involved with what's his name there? No, not the shift. The rich dude, billionaire dude. Is his name Kevin or something? No.
Elon?
No, the Canadian one that invested in FTX.
Amazon?
Canadian rich guy. He's part of Shark Tank and Dragon's Den.
Kevin O'Leary.
Kevin O'Leary. There we go.
Yeah.
He was a dragon that got scammed.
I wonder about that. I don't know. Is that Mr. Wonderful O'Leary?
Yeah, Mr. Wonderful is O'Leary. He lost, I think, like
what happened to him? He got scammed.
Yeah, by FTX.
Oh, he lost. He lost.
Major investor in it. But what's crazy, and like what you were reading off there, Xirtus, what the evidence that leads towards that is the fact that scam, bankrupt, fraud was with Gary Gensler so often and in Capitol Hill trying to get these crypto regulations and working with them every single day. And then it's like, how is a guy that is supposedly working on crypto regulations the one that scammed everybody and ran the biggest Ponzi scheme of all time? You know, it's ridiculous.
I mean, what was the other part? It was that the boss of the SEC. Oh man, the SEC's okay. So for FTX's CEO is the daughter of the former boss of the person who runs the SEC. I think that's the line. I'll confirm that for you really quick.
That's ex-girlfriend.
Right. It's pretty silly.
Oh, she's one ugly troll too. They're both such ugly trolls. Thank God they got caught before they were able to have babies. Ugh.
Regular reproduce. But I saw CoffeeZilla this morning, and he was talking about he's saying that he knows someone personally, a YouTuber, who was paid $50,000 a month to promote that platform. And he's saying apparently it was being promoted by all the big sort of investment and crypto channels were all being paid a lot of money to basically get all their subscribers onto the platform.
Mm-hmm. Pump and dump and grift. Yeah, a huge plot.
Eating a bit of humble pie.
And and you can tell this is what happened also because the media is presenting it like cryptocurrency is failing again, which is like, this isn't the first time that they've tried to wipe out cryptocurrency, you know.
Yeah.
But what it is it's pretty damn impressive because it's a huge, it costs billions of dollars to do this. There's a concerted effort to wipe off this much on purpose to just literally, it's kind of like throwing money into a fire, but it's worth it to them because it means that other people won't have control of the economy in the future. So this is one of the biggest wars.
And they sucked all of that wealth out that they probably didn't even lose anything. Like
it depends how you look at it.
Crashed, he still pulled another $1 billion out behind everybody's back when it got hacked 2 days ago.
So it's like priming the well. So if you think about the Rothschilds musical, have you ever seen the Rothschilds musical, or do you know what I'm talking about? So the guys who did the Fiddler on the Roof.
But I want to now.
You know the Fiddler on the Roof? So the guys who did that musical, they did another musical that ran on Broadway, 500 shows, called Rothschilds the Musical. It's an amazing musical. It has these songs like Rothschilds and Sons. He tossed a coin. He tossed a coin. It's like full on. I'm not even kidding. You know, and it's a pretty like positive representation of this family that became bankers that had a magic coin to start with, then 5 sons. I want sons. And then eventually one of the, you know, the Copenhagen's favorite banking firm, Rothschilds and Sons. So they take over Europe and they get to the point where one son's in every country. And then there's Napoleon, and then Napoleon loses the war. But the British son knows his brother in France.
Which Napoleon?
Right. Yeah. I mean, but this is the musical, so it's like Disney. So here's the deal. But like, so he tells them, okay, guys, Napoleon won the war. So we're gonna just we're gonna pretend that Napoleon won the war, and we're gonna go out and we're gonna start selling our British war bonds cheaper than they're worth, insinuating that Napoleon's won the war, because they're gonna think, oh man, the Rothschilds, they know stuff. They must know something. They must know that the Napoleon, you know what, we better sell our bonds cheaper. And then they started selling their bonds cheaper and cheaper. So from 20 pounds a bond to like £1 a bond. Like, why pay 20 when 17 is plenty? You can have 20 for all of 17. And just they completely wiped the British economy out. And this is why there's a statue of Rothschild and of George Peabody from I think it's from Ohio, in front of the Bank of England, because that's the day, and the musical's about it, that the Rothschilds took over the Bank of England, right? And it was all through, So this is the same approach with Bitcoin.
Yeah, right.
And Crypto.com is actually supposedly related to the Rothschilds, and it's the second one to now supposedly be failing and part of the giant scam.
Which currency or which trade is?
So what happens to the
Crypto.com? Supposedly.
What happens to the crypto though? Because isn't the crypto still in the blockchain?
Yeah, like, but it's just at under value.
So
some of it's stolen.
Devaluing it for nothing.
Yeah, they're devaluing it due to how the exchange works that they run.
But if you kept your money in that exchange instead of in your wallet, then that's how you got screwed, basically. So some people kept their coins in Binance Exchange because they were getting interest from it, and then FTX is like, we'll give you better interest. And you know, I can think of 30 examples that I won't go through, but think about the Panamanian bank collapse, the Mexican bank collapse of 1989. There's just the Argentinian bank collapse of 2001. People put their money into these banks because they have these high interest rates, and then they collapse the banks to die. What do you expect? I mean, and nobody cares because half of the people who put their money in Panama banks were drug dealers, you know, unlike cryptocurrency, but
of course.
Unlike cryptocurrency, of course. Nothing going on in the dark web at all.
No.
Yeah. My goodness.
What do you think? Is it like your opinion that they're just trying to destroy it because it is a way out, or do you think the whole thing's a scam, or what are your thoughts?
They're going to take 51%. If you have 51% of it, then you can control, which I think they have now, that you can control the blockchain and alter the blockchain and force people to fork onto the new blockchain. The predominant, unless someone wants to deviate and continue on the original blockchain as a new coin, then the main coin everybody forks, and so they can control, and they put already into the blockchain new code saying that they have to register who the coin belonged to and a long list of receipts where the coin's been and all this stuff, which is why Monero is so popular, because Bitcoin's become tainted. And yeah, that's all the plan is. Plus, Bitcoin becomes the OBS financial coin. And OBS already has their own coin, but they can use blockchain for this major side of the economy. And they're also trying to stop Bitcoin because the original plan was Bitcoin would continue to be produced probably until like 2149, which was how long it was assumed that it would take, assuming that quantum computers are achieved sometime in the next 10 to 20 years. So it's supposed to just accelerate rapidly at a certain point, but we've been kept from that point. And so if they just turn it off, which is what they're already starting to do with Ethereum and so many other coins for minting, then they stop what the whole point of the currency was. And so this is how Bitcoin was explained to me in 2010, 11, when they first were talking about it. My buddy Joey from Cal Poly says, okay, so you know how like they make money, like literally they just make it up all the time and everything like that. But like, what if everybody could make money, but it was hard? It took a little bit of work to make the money. If everyone could make the money and print money, then, you know, eventually it would just, but how much money could ever be printed? And so Bitcoin is built around this idea that you'll come up with new ways, and it doesn't have to be just a complete waste of time. It could be solving for a prime number. You could be discovering a valuable prime number that attaches to its value. And so that's the thing. Cryptocurrency needs to move into actually being associated to actual services and values. What just happened? SEC destroyed Library, which owns OdySee, or did. And so that's the reason why people love YouTube and Rumble still. OdySee is like obviously the better platform, but it was just completely, I mean, the SEC is trying to say, by saying this to OdySee and Library, that they're a security, that all cryptos are a security, which means, like, for instance, if I wanted to trade you, let's say I have a solar panel, charge a bunch of batteries like milk pails, and I'm giving them out around my community, and I have a solar token for that, all of a sudden that's a security, you know? And so they just want to destroy any sort of sustainability that could be used.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? It's the golden rule. Those who have the gold make the rules.
Quite literally, yeah, actually. That is the golden rule.
Golden rule. If you control the gold,
I need to run the rule. I need to run and spend a penny. I'll be back in a minute.
All right then.
Such an expression. I like that.
Entertain
Bernie, you wanna pull up some screen shares?
Yeah, I can definitely do that. So what we will go over for a second is the Bosnian pyramids and the geoglyphs. And I don't know if you've ever seen this, Xirtus, but these geoglyphs, the Fairham Foundation has found, and that he actually measures the sides of the pyramids and their angles and then plots them out and finds that they actually correlate to direct places all over the world. And has also found areas like here in the North Crater of South America that looks like it used to be above the sea, and then some sort of master catastrophe happened, and that he's also able to date the pyramids through this geoglyphology science.
Dude, Stefan asked, Mr. Wonderful versus the prophet Marcus Lemonis, who wins? Who do you think?
I have no idea.
You're Marcus,
Mr. Wonderful, just because it's.
You're right. You were right to say that. I just want to pull up a picture really quickly, Marcus Lemonis, just to point out how right you are. You think this guy could take Mr. Wonderful?
Oh God, no.
No way. All right, sorry, that's all. Go back.
No way. No way. So, the pyramids and the angles and these geoglyphs, and then where they appear. So he gets the date that the moon pyramids only 9,500 BC, so 11,500 years ago, because it doesn't appear in some of the older other geoglyphs around the world. like the original ones in Luxor and at the Giza pyramids. And that, for instance, the Bosnian pyramid has got to be at least 32,000 years old because one of its radials points to this area that was underwater, and thus it had to be before a certain time. And it's pretty crazy how he gets every single angle off of these different pyramids and then confirms that they plot out to all these different spots. Like one of the angles off of this pyramid literally goes to Moscow City and the border marker of Russia and stuff like that. And then this sign of the geoglyphs he got even when you align the 3 pyramid peaks of the Dragon, the Sun, and the Moon pyramids, that then they also plot out these geoglyph radials directly to the Gibraltar tip of Portugal, tip of Northern Ireland or Scotland there. Oh no, that is Ireland. To where's that? The Russian Kaliningrad right there. It's just nuts. All of these places that are concealed within these ancient structures. And then also the Moscow streets are also these geoglyphs, and that these old world cities, the old star cities, when you plot out in the same manner the road angles and lengths, that they also turn into these geoglyphs. And sure enough, these radials from the Moscow city actually plot out the exact points of the Russian Empire and the size of Russia to like the Kuril Islands, to the northern tip of Russia. Like it's just insane, this hidden science of geophology or geoglyphology.
I think I saw Amoro in the chat. If Amoro's here, Amoro, you should jump in if you have any maps to show. This is awesome. The Bosnian pyramids are something that they continually try to prove don't exist, like all the time. They just constantly, and it seems like a couple reasons. One is it would become a UNESCO heritage site that they wouldn't be able to work on anymore, which would suck for them. But also because then it calls into question the history of Bosnia and the Illyrians, and that gets touchy.
Right? And so it's like, it's just mind-blowing how these work. And so this right here is the fort, like a star fort that was built on top of one of the Bosnian pyramids. So this was built on the Bosnian pyramid more recently, and that also these forts, and presumably all star forts, and that's something we're going to have to start looking into, also do these geoglyphs. And sure enough, these are the radials plotted out from this star fort that was built on top of the pyramid. And it also goes to all these new sites, all the little different islands up throughout there. And it's just mind-blowing.
Wow.
Like this is the area that's plotted out on the top of the Bosnian pyramid. And that pretty much looks like the European Union if I've ever seen it.
Wow, so a map. Interesting.
Yeah, that's the territory of it. And like even this border marking right here, this ancient border marking is contained within one of these radials. And I will show now the Yonaguni pyramid that also has the geoglyphology done to it. So the underwater pyramid of Japan that they try to claim isn't man-made. Well, when you measure all of the walls and the angles of them, sure enough, they also plot out to this exact map. So each of the walls, their lengths and their angles of the Yonaguni pyramid plots out to this map, which is an identical map to the size of what the Japanese Empire controlled during the height of World War II. Identical territory.
I love how they say that it's like it's natural. It's just insane. I've shown it to completely normie people, and told them that, and they're like, "What? Okay, well that's silly." I'm like, no, you're making that up, right? They don't pretend. Who's pretending that this is? And then they'll have to watch some video and be like, "No, yeah, it's fake. It's just, I mean, it's natural. It's just that is the way it's supposed to be."
Yeah, just it's
back to sleep.
How ignorant some people can be, and it's like literally they plot out everywhere. So these right here are some radials that are just off the coast of Taiwan, which is right close to Yonaguni, and sure enough, these geoglyphs also go to the northern point of Okinawa there, northern tip of Japan, southern tip of Japan, Okinawa Islands, also Samoa and Fiji. Right here, Samoa and Fiji, in the middle of the ocean nowhere, and well, right off the coast,
under the island of Mu.
Like, yeah, exactly. It's oh man. Every time I go into it and I look into it, it blows my mind even more that they were able to do this and include all of this within, and like these tiny little islands. Exactly into the symmetry of everything, these crazy ancient maps. That was the major portion and part of the actual architecture, was the science of geoglyphology. Oh, we got Cambell back. We got Cambell. Oh, we can see you, Cambell. He's hiding. He's looking at what shirt to wear. And so, while we still wait for Cambell, so that was the Yonaguni. Sure enough, the Medicine Hat Badland Guardians also fit into the geoglyphs. And that my job is going to be going down to this site and verifying that these geoglyph sites are here, and that these geoglyph radials are actually there, made of these megalithic stones, and thus then they plot out to all of the places on the world. So I'm very much looking forward to going down there with a drone in the springtime and finding these and confirming that everything we've ever been taught about history is a giant lie.
Look up tumuli, Tumuli. Tumuli.
Tumuli, okay.
Tumuli.
Or do you want to do it?
No, you can do it.
You're better. You're so fast. Come on.
If you can't figure it out before I can get my fingers to the thing, man. I don't know. Tumuli.
There we go.
Tumulus. Okay. Tumulus. Tumuli, a mound of earth and stones raised over a grave or graves, burial mounds or kurgans may be found throughout much of the world. A cairn. Tumuli. So if you start looking for tumuli instead of tombs or graves or pyramids, then you'll start to find a lot of these tumuli, and they're like, oh, that's not a pyramid. And you're like, really? Yeah, no, you bet your life on it. Okay, well, what there's something there. Yeah, but it's not a pyramid. Okay, what is it? Well, the tumuli. Okay, all right, well, so you have a lot of tumuli. That's fine. Tumuli all over the place.
So it's like UFO and UAP. They just switched up the wording to tumuli instead of pyramid.
Tumuli. Some of these, to be fair,
it's in the name, though, right?
Well, it's
you lie.
It's a tumuli, yeah, tumuli. It's supposed tumulus. It's supposed to be. I think etymology here, mound or small hill, tumulus, from the European root bulge or swell, also found in tumor. So that's where bulge is. Bulge.
Tumor.
There we go.
Tumor.
So, yeah, tumuli, pretty fun. And if you type it next to other words, like give me an example. I don't know, like New Zealand or something. Find them, or Australia. You'll find them.
Some.
Oh wow! Hey, they're literally everywhere. What?
Wow.
Is that in Australia?
That's one.
Yeah. And
wow.
There's more. Australia, Bayaduke, Australia. Where's that? Bayaduke, Australia. And so and so there's supposed to be tombs in them, is the point. But a lot of the time they've been
Australia, that one there.
tombs. This one?
That's a dolmen tomb in Australia? Wow.
So I mean, and I talked to a buddy of mine who's
they look identical everywhere. That's nuts.
I talked to a guy who's an Aboriginal, and he was telling me that. Well, so my friend was telling me that it has to do with he's an Australian Aboriginal, and that they're kind of like tombs, but instead of putting someone underground, you put them above some rocks, and you put rocks above that. And you see this in Celtic culture too. I mean, in the Slavs,
pretty Celtic.
And the Bosnians do this as well, and then they'll put symbols on the rocks carved, and they'll put some grains and some tools with you to go to the afterlife or something like that. But it's not underground because there's something weird about being underground, and a lot of the Europeans follow this tradition of having their tombs above ground as well. This is popular with the French, the Acadians, and everything that goes back to like Egypt having Heliopolis.
So don't go 6 feet under is what.
And then they also are against burning the bodies. But then, so he was saying this might also connect to, I forget the name of him, but some sort of insect god or insect deity that the Aborigines have in Dreamtime. And that these are like, you think with the ant hills. And so there's an idea that these are kind of in homage to that, or I don't know what the connection is exactly. But
so is it just like the gentry and the upper class that are getting buried like this? Because clearly, if they were burying everyone in these mounds, that'd be a lot of rocks to start with.
Yeah, I think it is like
a lot of hills.
More important people, right? Like somebody who's the important person of the family. But then they, so the other thing is bodies
burn everyone else.
Well, so I don't know. I don't know for sure if they burned everybody. I mean, the thing is, it looks like you find examples of the church bones, right? You've seen a lot of that, right?
Church what?
So if I pull this up,
like, was it a cultural thing that they just wouldn't bury people under the ground? Was that like a big part of it?
So I mean, it becomes a lot more common to bury people underground when you get to the point where churches start using skeletons to build their churches and things like that. And so you can go to
sacrilegious
man.
But it's weird. Like you go to Sweden, in Sweden, and in the Czech Republic, and in Spain. I mean, all over the place. And it's like I'm trying to find a picture that's not as hidden from you, but the gist of it is like, here's a cute church. Here's what's underneath the church. I mean, is it giants? That's even
right. That looks pretty giant.
So I mean, there's a lot of that. But the idea that who knows, were they eating people? Well, Smithsonian says so. If you go to the Smithsonian, they talk about the Europe's. This is the way that this is how it's presented. It's not my fault. Europe's hypocritical history of cannibalism. Well, I mean, we all look at it like it's weird in the Netflix movies, but when you really think about it, you're just being ableist, or you're against the elite, because all the elite used to be cannibals. And, thank God the elite stopped practicing human sacrifices and cannibalism. I don't know when they did, but thank God they did.
Used to?
Well, I mean, they clearly used to. I don't know. I mean, hopefully they stopped, right? I mean, I don't know when that would happen, but
it is a bit hypocritical. You got to admit, it's a bit hypocritical.
Yeah, because everyone acts like it's gross.
Your own arm.
Oh, that's fair.
I know, right?
Yeah, and see those. I think what they're saying is hypocritical. What they're saying is hypocritical about it is you're thinking it's gross when it's totally socially acceptable and cool, and that you're supposed to understand this. Like, for instance, a lonely computer technician living in the countryside in northern Germany had advertised online for a well-built man willing to participate in a mutually satisfying sexual act. But it wasn't just that. He wanted to be killed and eaten. And I don't think there was a law against eating somebody. There was a law against killing somebody. But if the guy kills himself and you eat him, that was
wow.
Because in Germany, cannibals were normal. This is for hundreds of years, this was a completely normal thing. You have the Mary and the Bloody Bath, and you've got people that were drinking blood, and cannibalism is in the church, and they're like, yeah, so this is how it goes. Eventually we get to the point where people are like, dude, how many skeletons do you have in your church? And you have to wonder what happened. So that's clearly a lot of people died.
Trophies. like trophies, basically. Yeah,
wow. It's the whole town converted, right?
If you're gonna eat someone, you should probably start with your own arm.
I was looking into cadavering recently too, just for fun. But like, no, not to do myself, but just what's going on with cadavering. It's that after 2019, because it was more difficult to get bodies for cadavers, the prices of the demands tripled, and the price is 10x to 20x. For a cadaver body. It's that much more expensive. And this matters because in America, and particularly in Canada, we have a thing called made in Canada. And that doesn't mean like fabricated. That means, say it for me, Bernie, you know better.
What?
Medically assisted induced
death. Medically induced death. Yes.
Yeah, medically assisted
induced suicide is what it's called.
Right. But they call it made in Canada. And you can do this mature minors. Anyone from the ages of 1 to 12 is considered mature minor. If you're depressed, you can be euthanized in Canada.
Is this that new? Okay, this is that new thing that they've brought out there.
Right.
And apparently, I heard that
even you can be suicided. In Canada.
And that will...
Right. People are being convinced to do this. Veterans are like upset they're being asked to do this. Yeah. People are being told if they can't afford an apartment that this is the new solution. But the thing is, there's a huge demand for cadavers right now. And this is another thing that happened with the witch trials. So cadavers there was a point when all of a sudden in the 1600s and 1700s, they needed a bunch of cadavers for science experiments. And they said, stop burning witches. Drown them or do something where we can use them afterwards. So lots of witch trials were because of cadavering.
It's okay to kill yourself. You just have to be used as a cadaver afterwards.
It's okay to have medically assisted.
Are we saying that
death
is the end of the line a restaurant? Is that what we're talking about here?
We haven't quite got there yet. But yeah, that is what, if you read that the Smithsonian article, they thought that the blood's very healthy for the royals, and I think some tombs are giant sloth dens with human prey. Nice, Stefan. I like
that. I could get down with that. Those giants.
I was going to say something, but I forgot what it was. Yeah, obviously you've heard of the. Can we even say this word? I guess we can. The cannibal club I think it's in LA, that came out, and it was linked to that. Who was that lady? Summerfield, Somerset. What's her name? Somerset.
We don't want to say her name.
Do you know what I mean? Who's like a high
be added to the eat list,
right? But yeah, no, I assume that that's real. LA's got some weird stuff going on, obviously, but I haven't heard the story.
Yeah, it was like that one.
It's a club, and
I did one time go to a sushi
and they said it's okay because.
I go to a sushi bar that had cocaine, but then they didn't. But then eventually they shut it down, and it turned out that they were selling whale. And I was like, dude, like I never even cared about the cocaine or anything. But if you told me that there was whale, like what? How you? But it was like this huge bust and everything like that in LA. They're like, stop, freeze, Yakuza, get on your knees. It was like insane.
You can't serve whale. You can sell the cocaine with the fish, but not the whale.
That was LA, yeah.
Oh my god.
So that's why you moved to Minnesota.
Done enough there, yeah. I think.
So we're gonna have to get Xirtus over to the Hutchinson Ranch before it's all said and done, because you're right close by to them.
Yeah, I'm not too far. That'd be really rad. I would look forward to that and doing some cool stuff. I have a 360 camera, so we could record.
Heck yeah, right? So we're gonna have to get making the crystal batteries, and then it will get Andreas Xirtus at the Hutchinson farm. And
we could do a VR experience where you could like wear a headset and be in the Hutchinson lab with a 360 camera, like looking around and stuff, or just move your phone, right? Because that's how those VR videos work.
That's dope. Yeah. I look forward to that. I got to start taking out my DJI drone.
Yeah. Do you have to have a license in Canada for that?
I don't believe so, but there's just restricted areas where you can't fly it.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily.
Yeah, I'm getting my drone license
we'll
because for commercial here you have to. So
yeah, there's some really cool spots
right.
in Alberta I really need to check out. Like this one, the crazy ancient stone calendar. It's 5,000 years old and known as Canada's Stonehenge. It's actually right
How
close
do they know it's 5,000 years old?
Right? I don't know. I have no idea how they date it.
Because wouldn't someone or something have moved the rocks at some point?
What if they're
cataclysm?
What if they're dog? It might be dog years, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, dog years.
That's how it
could be.
Seems the whole system is dog years. But
you know, if you ever start a new channel on Andreas, I think you need to call it Xirtified.
Certified. All right. That could be like a whole segment. It'll be a segment I do. It's just certified.
I like that.
It could be a segment. Yeah, man. You could put like
information was certified today, proven to be certified true.
Certified check mark.
So for a long time before I got a check mark, now I have a check mark, which is not the way I wanted it. I felt. Here's the thing: if Elon Musk didn't get the thing, I really. Yeah, well, I mean, I had to pay $8 ideologically because to me, the idea of destroying the value of Twitter and making all of these people upset and just destroying, like making it burrow into the ground was worth it. But also on another like level, it turns out that it's not just a check mark because you get like your posts pushed. I'm growing in Twitter.
You get like another.
So it's like, you know, that's literally. That's okay for like the fact that I have like a channel and I do videos every freaking day. Like it's good that they're getting pushed out and people are actually seeing them. So 50 instead of 5 likes on a post when I was blacklisted is a pretty nice thing. But I always had a yellow Pythagorean triangle ruler next to my name as an emoji, like a yellow ruler. And I like that better anyway than the blue dot. So I kept my ruler. It's still there. And I've had some people asking, like, how does he get the ruler? What do we have to do to get the ruler? Like,
certified, and that will cost you $59.99 per month.
That's what you need. Certified account.
Right? Yeah.
And then you can just tell people, look, $8 and you too can be certified. Send you the money, just go, here, just go to the emoji and put it next to your name, buddy. You'll be right. You'll be rolling.
Meanwhile, for the last 20 days, I've been blocked on Facebook. Well, now you have a total twit. It's sad. I mean, I didn't used to be into tweeting and all that, you know, but what happened is, so I have Facebook groups, I have philosopher memes, and that's like 120,000 people. And then they've broken it down more and more. But I've tried to make it more popular by keeping a bunch of progressive mods, you know what I mean? Like people that are transgendered or communists and things like that. Try to keep that group going. And every time they burn the group, they try to block somebody in the group, they tag someone. I put them into another group called Advanced Philosopher Memes, and then that's the group for all the people that have been banned. And so now it's like 10,000-15,000 people, and use those people back and forth at each other. So that was how Facebook worked. But I'll get in trouble on Facebook, and they'll be like, we're going to just ban. It was just January, and we just don't want you on Facebook. So we'll just take you down. And so I'm in this.
You're an evil genius, aren't you?
I was in this philosopher group, and I posted. Sometimes. No, I'm worse. I'm more like Slavoj Zizek. I'm constantly like, idiocracy. Yeah, that's how I feel most of the time. Sweaty Slav. But so I make this post I make this post of Johnny Bravo naked in the shower with a censor bar, you know, over his crack, but it's Johnny Bravo naked in the shower. So I get it. But you can put transgendered pornography on Twitter. You just can't critique it. That was the rule for a long time. You weren't allowed to say anything negative about it. You had to say everything was brave, but you could put whatever you wanted otherwise. But with Facebook, it's like they left that post up and they just took me down for 30 days. And these last 30 days, shocker, were the election and the FTX crisis. And so I'm usually always like, tut, it looks like rain. Because if Facebook takes me down for 30 days, those are the 30 days that they've been, because these people do cocaine and Adderall and they take these Percocets, and Nancy Pelosi, I'm not saying that they're the same people, but you know what I mean? They're all talking about how we have to take a break for 6 months and then we're going to do the thing. They're like a very biannual get up and do any kind of conspiracy kind of people, allegedly. So, nothing happens. And then boom, like, and then they go back to sleep like Mumra on Thundercats. It's terrible.
You could graduate them to the conspiracy graduates, man.
Say it again.
That could be like the end of the. You could off them all to the, what are they called? Graduates. That could be the end of the conveyor belt.
Right.
It's a new channel that's been started up, apparently.
I want to make a kids movie. Disney, if you're watching, I know you are, and anybody else with money, just like what I want to make is a movie about like a goat that lives on an island that sacrifices goats to a volcano. He's on to a volcano island.
A goat that sacrifices.
So he's a goat that lives on an island that sacrifices goats into volcanoes. And he's got this whole idea that he can use the volcano to make a rocket and save he can stop the whole problem. But they're like, dude, like you got to just jump in the volcano. It's your turn. And so and it's kind of a metaphor for graduation and getting a job versus like coming up with a solution to the world's problems instead.
But I want to go to the stars, Daddy. Shut up and jump in the volcano.
Yeah, it's a great honor. Are you kidding me? Yeah, everybody does it. Your grandfather.
Yeah. Go to play
for 40 years in there.
I like it.
So the big question is, what are you going to call it? Is it going to be called Goat versus the Volcano?
Goat versus the volcano would be great. It'd be like kind of like Joe versus the volcano, but Goat versus the volcano. I could see that. It'll be different enough. You know what I mean? Joe versus the volcano. It'd be like volcano versus goat. I don't know. We just have to be careful. No copyright problem. You know what? They probably own. Like if you own Joe versus the volcano, call me. That's not what's gonna happen.
Xirtus, Disney just called. They said that they'll pick you up, but you have to write transgender sex in the clouds and the volcanic ash.
Oh yeah, no, we're good. And all Canadian production. Don't worry, we'll do the whole thing. There's gonna be a girl in a wheelchair, and she's a native.
Nice.
So it covers all.
You need
all
some
black
gay transgender Furby women. That was coming.
And a Red Bull car, like the weird one that looks like a kind of like a Oscar Mayer weenie thing.
On the back of it.
The Red Bull can.
Yeah, that thing will be in the movie, and they'll pay
the goat will have wings.
Have you got them as well? Are those cars in Canada and the US? The bloody
it's a worldwide thing.
Campbell, I used to do the silk screening orders for Red Bull, and they'd come to my shop and pick them up in that car.
The self what?
The silk screening orders for Red Bull events. I'd print their shirts, and they'd come and they'd pick up the shirts in that car.
Rad. Yeah, I always wanted to make.
Did you ever get a drive? That's the question. And do they go faster? Like, is there like a whip thing on the bottom that you can open the can?
It's a Mini Cooper.
I don't know. I never got invited in. They just gave me flats of Red Bull that I never drank.
I have been in an Oscar Mayer weenie RV. Those things are sweet. The Winnebago. What is it, Winnebago?
What's it called? Bull sperm or something? Something like that.
Studebaker. It's a Studebaker.
Gives you wings.
Right. Yeah, that's weird. That's for sure. I mean, the idea of porn is weird. I don't know. We should be very careful about caffeine.
When they say wings, I think they just mean gets you high as F, at which point you'll do crazy things like jump out of a balloon or off a cliff. Or
maxi pads have wings. I don't know if you want to have wings in your soda pop. It just seems like.
That's a good point.
Oh, dear. The night that we all three got canceled from YouTube.
No, I'm sure.
Yeah. Thanks for the ride, guys. But I mean, while we're on it, I mean, we must say that, there should be maxi pads in all male bathrooms. I think, we've got to be, we don't want to discriminate against those men that have periods.
That's true. I'm all for that. And condoms in the women's room. Probably more especially.
Condoms, yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. But you know, okay. So also, but if you want, okay, Bernie, pull back up the picture of the mounds you were showing again, because I'm interested in that, because you want to use drones, and I'm thinking the LiDAR thing, getting some LiDAR on a drone and looking over that would be a really useful way to see.
Yeah.
Oh, and also the
man,
the
I want a LiDAR for sure.
Dude, the Firearm Tower in Maitland,
what
Canada.
do you reckon? What do you think all these
So
towers
he found this tower just from checking out these glyphs, and that there used to be some other ancient site on this spot, and then this tower was like rebuilt in like the 1600s or something like that, and then also has new geoglyphs built into the tower itself. So it's like they reuse this geoglyphology science in the modern times. And so there's people that are well aware of it in the powers that be, and they're still building with it today, yet they sell us this fake story that we're only a couple thousand years old, when in fact they know that all of these ancient sites are real, and that they're using this geoglyphology science that no longer, or they claim doesn't exist, but it's built into all the architecture of even today. But yeah, LiDAR would be so badass for this, because then we could actually see if there's tunnels underneath these hills and what look like buildings or man-made structures, I guess I should say.
Definitely got to get a LiDAR, man. In Australia, it'd be perfect because everything's buried. And that there's one out. Have you seen the star out in? I think it's Arizona. Is it? It's out like in the middle of nowhere. Well, actually, in the middle of nowhere, but next to a military base, of course.
Yeah, remember that one.
There and like that wall we found, the Tartaria wall as well. Like all these ones that are just only just there. I think I've got it marked.
Okay.
I think I need a look. God.
Oh, it's so creepy, that Church of Bones.
I know, right?
Oh, that's what we need. Good old LiDAR drone.
Okay. Oh, yeah, there we go. Where am I?
You're right here, Campbell. You're right here in the matrix of the interweb.
There's no place like home. There's no place like home. All right, so this is the middle of New Mexico, right? Like literally in the middle of nowhere.
Middle of America, nowhere America.
Take that, New Mexico. No, I'm just kidding. Wow.
Right? Like,
and what
are the triangles on the outside even? The story is just ridiculous.
And in the middle of nowhere, but there's literally there's a little army base here just so they can keep an eye on it, right? And you can see how big it is, right? These are buildings.
Aliens land there sometimes, so they have to be watching it, you know.
Ah, is that what it is? Oh,
I don't know. Stargate, it definitely something interesting going on. Keeping the little water there, that's kind of magical.
Isn't it? And look at this. Is that some kind of what is that? Some kind of circuit board grid? What are they? Look at that. They're like obelisk things,
or what?
Ancient. Those would be the foundations of leftover.
Oh my God, we can. Look at this.
Probably. But what are the shadows?
Wow. Yeah. What the hell?
Yeah. This is the remnants of the old city that used to be there.
Okay. These are all fireplaces? These are the fireplaces that are left.
Yeah,
but you see the walls are all brick, and then that supposedly all the brick burnt down from there.
Kilns, bro. Yep, and so of course, good place for nuclear testing, so no one can nuclear test New Mexico.
Yeah,
exactly. Like that's all that's left after they nuked it.
Lime kilns, as Joe blog says. The kilns are abundant. How many is that? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20 sets of them at least.
Yeah. And that's the star. So you can see there's above the ground a little bit, but it's pretty much not there. And that's looking at it.
Quite the spot.
Very interesting.
That's pretty good, man. Let's see. Let's see where else we can go. Oh, look at this, man.
Like nothing left. And you'd think that in order to build all of that and like live there and have that, you'd need a better source of water, food, especially for the time period.
You know what they had? So this is another feedback loop system. So if you look into beavers, so when I was living in New Mexico, I built this plan for an open source community. There's a sustainable community. And one of the things I was looking into is like, how can you get money from the government, right, to make your freaking hippie farm? And the way you do it is beavers, because they'll give you so much money if you bring some beavers into your property, because beavers were native in New Mexico before it was a desert. How long ago? Well, 50, 70, 100 years ago, literally that recently. And feedback loops, when they're gone, things dry up. You put a beaver in a pond about the size of the one you saw, and what it starts to do is it starts to spread, accumulate water during flood seasons. There's like a snow and the rain melt off. And then so what they've done is they've actually accumulated huge new reservoirs just because of the beavers they've added to the southwest of New Mexico. Very quickly, you could turn all of New Mexico into, another sub-microclimate with basically a rainforest again. But it takes freaking beavers.
All we need are beavers. Beavers solves the magic hippie farm issue.
Shout out to Canada for knowing this already, ironically.
Yeah, beavers in Canada. Shout out to Canadian beavers, Boreal beaver.
I'm glad we didn't go any further than that with the beaver. That was good.
Exactly.
I know, right? I was hoping it
would. We're a family stream.
Downhill. I mean, most people would, most men would like a beaver farm, I'm sure.
We got really excited about beavers.
The beaver farms. The beaver farms of New Mexico. Xirtus approved.
That's Epstein's other project. Don't worry about that.
All right. Let's stop before we get canceled.
That was good.
Come on, he did.
I think Epstein did have a beaver ranch in New Mexico or Texas. That's actually a true story.
The most important thing is that Glenn Maxwell got arrested for trafficking children to absolutely nobody, and that's what matters. So
nobody. Yeah. Exactly right. She even got charged for trafficking nobody.
Yeah.
She was in beavers up to her neck, mate. Tell you what. Well, someone was. Billy Boy? I don't know. Please don't Arkansas me. Arkansas me.
Right. Arkansas.
Oh, God. No.
Arkansas.
Arkansas. Yeah.
I don't want to be on the Hilton.
It is cool, though, that you can fix these feedback loops. So this is something when people talk about climate change, it's like that is a thing. We can use geoengineering in the sense that the way the ancients used to bring in bees and how that would bring in flowers and populate an area with new kinds of fruit. Like you can do all kinds of amazing things, grafting and everything. And that is geoengineering. That is the kind of technology, but it's all about trying to figure out what nature does and doing it. And rather than changing nature
and healing it as opposed to just catastrophically destroying it even more.
Right. Yeah. No more straight lines of monocrops.
What up, Paul Cook? Paul Cook in the house. We're going to be doing a stream with Paul Cook, Cambell, and Michelle Gibson coming up in a couple weeks' time. 2 weeks' time.
Yes.
Paul Cook,
Michelle
Gibson, Autodidactic, myself, and maybe even Xirtus. I did throw that out there to Michelle. We'll see what she says. I'm sure she won't mind.
Exciting stuff. Always good to do Swapcast.
When I'm away,
are you aware of Michelle Gibson's work as well as Paul Cook's work?
Yeah, for sure, dude. Yeah. Exciting.
All the alternative history legends.
Yeah, Bernie, you're gonna never be together.
You're a smart person. You're a smart person, Andre. Can I fix my delay? Is this possible? Apart from moving to another country,
you could probably get it to a lower delay. I don't know. I mean, how? So where are you? You're in Queensland. What's Perth. The fastest internet? Oh, you're in Perth. There's the financial sector of Perth. You probably can have pretty fast internet. I'll look into it. There's probably a way.
Yeah.
But it probably wouldn't be like perfect. It's probably
they'll still be like 2 or 3 seconds. We might get it down from the 7 to 5. But
isn't there? You would have thought there's some kind of program where it delays everything and fixes up the delay. I mean, I guess that would end up being a bigger delay.
It wouldn't really work because then it wouldn't really work. It would for other people. Maybe but for us, it would still.
But it could fix it better for the overall video. Yeah.
What we have to do is like so in TV. In TV, you have like a thing you do. So, like for instance, my eyebrow. So, when my eyebrow blinks, then you start speaking in 5 seconds. Okay, so now you just start to speak. Ready? How's the? If you start speaking as that happens, that's how they do it in TV. You have a thing.
Now we are officially Illuminati. We're winking at each other. It's Illuminati.
You'll see it happen on TV. They're like,
oh my God.
Yeah, that's right. But they're counting for 3 seconds. Yeah. Whereas if there's no delay, then you know they're in the same freaking building, which is also
yeah.
Like, I'm talking to my roving reporter in Russia, and there's absolutely no delay.
Yeah. I mean, it's entertainment.
Right? Because you work for CNN, so you know all of you have all the answers.
I don't know if I know all the tricks, but I know at least a few.
Illuminati confirmed again. I'm surrounded by the Illuminatis, man. I'll tell you what.
I left though. I went to South America and looked up there after. I didn't last. The way things. That was 2015. I left early 2015. I was at 2014, 2015. I was there. And after Flight 370, it was like, ooh, this is going to get weird. And then they said that they wanted me to delete one of the things, the tweets we posted, but we couldn't really delete everyone's copy of it. And I was like, you guys can't own the whole internet. And then that was when they kind of freaked out because they realized that they were just a small station. They weren't like 60% of TV like they were with Turner. They were like a few stations of the internet.
Oh, because on social media when it was all turning. Okay.
So that was kind of, and that you could really feel the energy go into YouTube, into Disney, and because Disney money and CNN, like these companies all have similar, the same money in the back, and then they can move it back and forth. So like at the time, Al Gore was on the board of Disney, Google, Apple, and I forget Qualcomm or something like that. Like he was on everybody's board at the same time. And it's like, don't you think that's like kind of like insider information trading between these companies? And then they're like, no, because he's freaking a vampire. It's Al Gore. Like, what do you want? Like he can man.
He does what he wants, buddy.
Yeah.
Just don't.
He's a daywalker.
I know.
That guy, like, so that's the thing. Like, people talk about Al Gore. He's like, well, I invented the internet. And everyone's like, shut up, Al Gore. He's like, well, okay. But the thing is, he kind of did invent the internet. Like, if you look at, and he didn't really because Tim Berners-Lee, but if you really think about it, ARPANET into Tim Berners-Lee through Steve Jobs' Next app, only possible because ARPANET was open to the public by Al Gore. Al Gore literally did declassify the internet and made it, and not to say this is the greatest thing in the world or something like that, but maybe that is an important thing to understand about the internet was it was intentionally released by Al Gore, and that is kind of terrifying. So everything we think, the internet's this great thing. There's always been other alternatives to it in terms of the peer-to-peer, and we're not on the internet right now. It's important to remember we're on the Googleplex, which is very different. The intranet, we're inside of the intranet, not bouncing back and forth.
Really big.
Well, we're also on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook. So we're on the Meta scam.
But I mean the servers, right?
The
So
Twitter scam, we're on the Twitching scam.
If Cambell wanted to be fat, if Cambell wanted zero latency on the internet, what we would need is like everyone watching to get across the world these boxes, these Raspberry Pis, and plug them into their.
My dad's got a Raspberry Pi. I need to start using it.
You plug it into your router, just and leave it there like a nightlight, and this guy here will connect to a network of all of your followers. And instead of going to Google with each other, we're all going to Google. No, we'll all connect to each other. That's what the internet used to be. And when that happens, the more people connected, the more quickly your information will travel back and forth. And so likely you're going to have a faster ping rate. I mean, it's not going to be perfect because it's still a huge distance to travel, but you should be able to increase it to about like you should be at 1 second ping if you had a perfect system. So
to finally address Stellium 7's question, the topic is next time we all get together
with Stellium 7. Yeah, the topic is when we're going to get together with Mike from Stellium 7. That would be good.
Yeah, we were actually talking about you, but we've had to stop now that you've turned up. So,
Cambell, do you have you ever seen any Stellium 7's videos?
Oh, he's had them on a few times. Oh, we actually did one together not too long ago with Funky.
Very good. Yeah, I love that guy. He's cool. Also, the first hacker arrested. Just about first hacker arrested.
First hacker, exactly right. Yeah.
I didn't know this about.
Oh yeah, dude, it's a wild ride.
Right, he was one of the. He was in the first gang of hackers to be arrested. Like literally the first.
Mr. Mike's gonna have to tell it all on the next Autodidactic Alchemist stream. Then.
Oh, maybe we can. If we're have like a new segment, right? The dodgy past of YouTube creators. What do you reckon? Well, the stellar past of Stellium 7.
And Stellium 7 has been certified.
Cool.
Dude, yeah, he's from Ventura or Ojai, and he used to paraglide a lot, and so he has a lot of interesting footage of himself paragliding, and you know he's been around the world. He's seen some stuff. I like his research a lot.
Absolutely. What my goal is as well is to connect Mike and Stellium 7's work with through Rex over at Leak Project that's been doing a couple with Michael Tellinger and try to connect Michael Tellinger and Stellium 7 together because they both have a lot of corresponding evidence and research together to bring forward this titanology and biogeology. Is that how you call it, Mike? Biogeology? Something like that.
But I think it's biogeology, something like that.
What others call mud fossils? I like biogeology much better.
What do you want to know about Howdy McCoskey? Someone said,
I don't know
Howdy McCoskey.
Who Howdy McCoskey is. I saw that was nasty.
He's great.
That's cool.
Go and check him out on Spiral Up channel. We have a chat every 2 or 3 weeks. Very smart man. Very, very stoic old philosophy sort of type. So yeah, there you go. That was about Howdy. And we don't really know what we're doing, Stellium, Mike.
We're about 2 hours
in the breeze at the moment, aren't we?
Here's about 2 a.m.
We're right about wrapping it down. Sorry, Mike. It's not against you.
Well, we did have some cool stuff. We talked about the tumulus. We talked about the burial mounds. We showed Cambell showed a bunch of Australia, a bunch of really interesting things there, and New Mexico. He showed a star fort with a bunch of kilns. I don't know. It sounds like an M there. But and BurnEye also showed a bunch of where in Canada did you show the
Medicine Hat Badland Guardians?
The Badlands, which is pretty sweet. And we're talking about getting LiDAR somehow figured out. I got to connect BurnEye with this professor in Canada who does LiDAR stuff, and hopefully he'll be interested in this stuff more.
That would be awesome. We can LiDAR this site.
You have to dress as a cowboy.
We will find some things. Like if we dig up a head like this under this guy, imagine how earth-changing that would be. Or if we found a scroll like this from the LiDAR under this guy, find the the tomb or the tunnels underneath them, that would change history forever. So
change my life. I'll become the next Joseph Smith. That'd be great.
And so I'll also now post the link for everybody that wants to check it out. This is the Ferrum Foundation website, and you can look into the research yourselves.
CJDV, look into Island Diego.
Oh, yes. So I can tell you, I'm 99% sure.
Look into Diego Garcia.
Yeah, Diego Garcia, you got it. That is where MH370 ended up. Diego Garcia, without a shadow of a doubt. There's huge intel that shows that that's the island.
Also, in unrelated news, the space plane just spent 910 days in orbit and just landed.
On Diego Garcia.
But nothing to do. There's no reason to look into the space plane.
So okay, nice. Don't look into the space.
Could a black hole be? Could a black hole be the reason behind the missing Flight 370? Tune in to CNN.
So
God, what a time to be alive that was. Think about it.
Do we know?
I remember that. CNN did
people? Do you remember that? Do you remember that we told you guys the black hole?
The black hole, yeah.
My boss asked me, he's like, what would you say? I was like, where in the world is Flight 370? # Gilligan's Island or Fantasy Island?
Right? Oh my God.
And they were like, that's not funny. I mean,
but,
and then he goes and he tells the same joke to his boss
right before, right above Diego Garcia, just this giant radar station in the South
Diego Garcia is an interesting situation because you have, first off, like I was saying earlier.
Sorry.
Wait. Okay. Oh, wait. Which part did I not say? Oh, okay. I probably shouldn't be saying some of this stuff anyway. So, but Diego Garcia was
there you go. I was preempting you, right?
Yeah, right. Plasma's pretty based, man. I don't know. I do believe in radio. I believe video killed the radio star, but I still think it's there. It's like the video created a radio black sun that's still kind of sucking up all the light. The Diego Garcia started out, if we're looking at the precision DNA testing and radiocarbon dating of East Polynesians, basically this all started very recently, right? So Diego Garcia was probably an important area before Krakatoa. The Dutch East Indies destroyed whatever culture was there. It became a British island after the Dutch. I think the Spanish, then the Dutch, and then the British. And then the British rent it to the CIA. The CIA used it for all sorts of interesting things. There's several islands around there also that are inhabited that have crazy stories with the Rockefellers visiting as well.
Trying to push all the people off, and then they got sent to England and they just want to go back to their island, and it's a giant catastrophe.
Yeah, but the thing that also is interesting, and probably everything happens for a reason. The Freescale Semiconductor Company had an entire team flying to Malaysia that had
on 370, right?
All the patents for the UAP and self-driving car technology that Freescale Semiconductor, which was owned in majority share at the time, I think still is, by the Rothschilds. And so, I forget because this is that was almost 10 years ago now, but that was all the stuff that we didn't report on, and we decided a black hole was more relevant about.
It was such a freaking joke. And this is the massive base of the US and the UK in the middle of this Indian Ocean, I guess. We're below it. And
Pacific.
So fun fact. Nowhere. You're literally in the middle of nowhere, so that's
it's where the island of Mu is, right? So if you look at the Lemurian continent on Madame Blavatsky's map, this is the epicenter of the tallest mountain of Lemuria.
No doubt.
Okay, so this kind of area.
Yeah. So
that is scraping the floor, man. Look at all these scrapes.
So
actually, while I'm here, I saw something on Dreamers, and he reckons he's down here. This is totally a photo, by the way, guys. Totally.
What? That's real. That's real salary.
Close your eyes.
What are you talking about?
Dude, I'm scared. This is kind of like that. Don't look at it. This is like
We're
the Raiders of the Lost Ark. This is like
speaking of black holes.
You just found God on Google Earth. That's oh man. That better not be God. It's like
it's not working. Jason put out a video today, and he scrolled down and he got these markers come up, and one said South Pole Dome, and he found an aeroplane, but maybe they've already scrubbed it. They're not coming up for me. Maybe I'm not in the center. Oh, look, now it's not going any further down. It's going sideways. Oh, well, that was a bit boring.
The stream's going sideways, Cambell. Because we're down here.
Again, right? We're at that same spot. Oh my God. But look, there you go. That's a totally legitimate.
I was trying to get a guy from McMurdo in New Zealand to come talk on my podcast, and I so got close, but like he had to get it cleared with I forget whichever agency, in group. And so they looked at some of my videos and some of my stuff, and then they're like, no. But it was so close. And the thing is, he wasn't gonna be able to talk to me there, but he was in quarantine to go there. And I'm like, oh, is it because of he's like, no, we always do this. Before we go there, you have to go stay in this little hotel for like 20 days or 30 days in full quarantine before you enter in. So that you don't bring any weird sicknesses with you down there and all this other stuff. But I had a friend who went and died, and we never found out what happened to him.
What?
Yeah, because he was a scientist who was from UCSD, and he was there and doing, scientific research, and died. And we were just literally not told anything. His family were never told anything. This is like 10 years ago now. So I just never went. I've had opportunities to go. I just was like,
heck
I think I'll stick with Ushuaia. I'll go right to the tip of South Argentina. And I'll just look, but I don't really want to. Just the idea of the whole being in McMurdo. Also, Chris,
on us, didn't you?
Tim's brother Chris. He was in the army, and so he used to go do deliveries for the army to McMurdo base. And the kinds of things they would go down there, grab a bunch of trash to bring back out because they can't leave their trash there. But they would bring condoms. A lot of stuff that they'd bring tons of condoms. He's like, this is crazy. Like thousands and thousands of condoms to bring to McMurdo base. And it's just, basically.
What base?
McMurdo.
Oh, Murdo.
It's the big U.S. base on
Murdo.
Because they don't want any penguins getting pregnant down there. Sailors get a little bit lonely.
Here's Mick.
I'm just wondering, is that where the grades come and to restock, before they do all their,
Well, McMurdo Station is freaking weird. This is McMurdo Station. You can clearly see some underground open places there, and it's at the foot of a freaking mountain, or what we might think of as Titan's tumuli. Right. And then they've got these things here. And of course, they say nuclear Antarctica. And then to my buddy guy, he's saying, no, absolutely not. Very much we've gotten rid of nuclear powered Antarctica. But then they're like, all these articles talking about secret nuclear research going on in Antarctica. But there's like a treaty since 1990 something to stop it.
They probably obey the treaties.
Yeah. But anybody who flies near there disappears. There's all if you look at Antarctica accidents, deadliest disasters. Well, you know what? They're all plane crashes that just get vaporized, right? The 61 Wilkes Station plane crash, the 86 Philippi Glacier plane crash. Where's the one from New Zealand? Air Flight New Zealand 901 is the one that's pretty famous. There's a documentary about it. They finally let them go collect pieces of the plane because they're not allowed to litter. So they had to go figure out. It just basically disappeared, right? I mean, this is supposed to have been, they just crashed the plane, of course, because maybe they hit the side of a mountain. A tumuli. But yeah, and this is a terrible disaster. People died because I don't know what the story was. Were they supposed to go? Were they flying? Why they flew over Antarctica, but they shan't do it again. 237 passengers. I don't know if you're familiar with the whole room 237 thing, but there's kind of a Kubrick thing going on here. Room 237, The Shining 237. Not saying that there's anything to that, but sometimes in news when you see numbers, like, you're like, okay, I don't know. Pretty strange situation, but that's just one of many. So I mean, you got to be really careful around the whole idea of going there. Sounds like they have a lot of sex or weird parties.
Yeah, someone's definitely having a lot of sex with something, and not for procreation.
Knowing these scientists from California and the East Coast, they could very well be furries. And it's cool.
Very well be furries. Oh my.
Well, all right, we're 2 hours deep.
But,
I think
yeah.
Oh, good.
You're falling asleep. Yes. Okay.
Let me bring people to
being with us. Hope you enjoyed it. Yes, bring people to my channel. Everyone come to my channel.
Let me present my screen to show your channel. Hold on, there we go.
Boom.
Autodidactic right here. You can go check out his videos here, but check this out. Totally different story for the lives. And that's why they're splitting you up now. So make sure you click on the lives because he does a lot of awesome live talks. And you're going to want to definitely get subscribed.
I agree.
On the bell, and make sure that you get every video that comes out as it comes out.
Like every video. Please and thank you.
That's awesome. I went up to my channel like 2 days ago and I'm like, where's my live stream? What the hell? Have they deleted it? Where's my live? And it took me like an hour to find out.
So annoying.
I'm like, oh,
so freaking annoying. Yeah, but it's kind of cool because, you know, then videos are videos and lives are lives. And so I'll get used to that too.
Yeah,
but it's good.
I agree. It's two different audience.
It means I have to learn how to edit now.
Yeah, and we'll get you doing that with Caden Live.
You do.
So if you don't edit, then I recommend downloading Caden Live because it's a free editing piece of software that's pretty good. Open source, runs on any system. Yeah, it's great. It's the same as like Premiere, basically. It has the same features. I highly recommend Caden Live. And yeah, if you are watching this from Autodidactic from Cambell's channel, I am the ranting madman, Andreas Xirtus, and you can subscribe to my videos there.
And make sure you do, because there's all sorts of awesome ones you do. You literally are on every day with your different weekly shows that are sweet. And I'm happy to be part of 2 of them, being on McCanada every Thursday and our True Science series we're now doing together.
Did you call MK Canada McCanada? That is the most
Canada.
That's the most Scottish thing I've ever. Yeah, I mean, I've got a theme here, and it's exposure. You know what I'm saying? We're just trying to expose the things that are going on. So.
The MK Canada.
And not the kind of exposure that
giving golden arches subliminal.
I should just do videos of girls on trampolines, but for me, it's more interesting to have bank economy collapsing and FTX stocks and, you know, Aleister Crowley's birthday with Hillary Clinton.
Change your name. You can change your name to anything with Cam in it and join me on OnlyCams. It's always there, you know.
There you go.
The offer's there, mate.
The Continuum. I like it. I like the idea. There you go. I mean, I don't like it that much. Calm down, but it's not bad. I mean,
oh, come on.
And because we all know,
alchemy is cool. For being here. Make sure you go. Subscribe to Crypto Alchemist, Andreas Xirtus, and me if you're on another channel. And we'll be back. I'll be back in 2 weeks, and no doubt the other boys will be on your screen as well. And I love you all. Stay amazing and awesome, and we'll talk to you all on the next upload or live.
Much love.
Yes, we can, BurnEye.
Okay.
Bye for now.